Child, I'm sorry. Y'all know I gotta stop the video at 33 minutes when I'm doing this kind of, uh, because I'll be recording videos and then, like, you don't want to upload, the video be damaged. Ain't nobody got time, so I gotta keep stopping it. But anyway, so yeah, and so her grace and her favor from the king obviously came from God because, like I said, I believe that supernatural portal for God to actually come and move and act on their behalf was open because of them fasting, because of them praying, because of their faith and their dependence on God to move for them on their behalf. That's what did it. It ain't nothing for God to turn somebody's heart. It's nothing. So, and this is also a picture of God himself in Jesus. How many of us as the bride of Christ has so much anxiety and fear and condemnation and guilt and all this other negative stuff that's piled upon us when we go to the throne? A lot of us have that. Just for you to get there and Jesus be like, what are you afraid? What you scared for? Like, I've been waiting on you to come on in here. You just over there scared and frantic and just, no, come on in. What's up? What's the matter? And look, the first thing that he says to her as soon as he sees her. Then said the king unto her, what will you, Queen Esther, and what is your request? It shall be given unto you unto the half of the kingdom. So he's literally welcoming her. He's happy to see her. We always think that God don't love us and don't want to be around us. We don't belong in his presence, and I don't want to go to the throne because I don't want to see his face, and he hates me. He ain't talked to me in 30 days, so I don't want to go be with Jesus. And it's just like, no, Jesus, he's waiting on you. He's happy to see you. The first thing he said to her when she came in is, hey, baby, how are you? What do you need? What is it? Whatever you want, I give it to you. So that's exactly how the Lord is with us. Like, I'm happy to see you. That's always God's heart toward us. And Jesus tells me this all the time. It's so funny because whenever he gives me, like, I call them revelation reminders of his love for me and his true character, it's kind of like a windshield, like a glass between you and Jesus. And on his side, he's always constant. His mind never really changes about how he feels about you. But we on the other side, so we don't see and experience that. We don't live that reality. So we think that in our logic, because of how we feel about ourselves and because of the stuff that we've done, that it's going to affect how God sees us or change how he feels about us. And it really doesn't. I wish I could explain it to y'all. It's really something that you got to experience. I felt it. And every time I feel that with Jesus and his love for me, I'm just like, how? Like, I don't get it. Like, how do you just stay so constant like this? And I can feel the passion as well when it comes to me and Jesus. And I'm just like, how did I forget this love? How did I forget this? Like, he hasn't changed towards me. He still loves me. Like, it's really insane. And it kind of feels kind of cloudy. Maybe y'all felt it before. It kind of feels kind of cloudy. It's just a thick passion, grace, love, like romance type thing. And it doesn't change. I don't know why we think it does. It really does not change. Like, God's heart and his character is set towards you forever. The only way that you can destroy that is if you literally just walk away from him and go back into the world and you're not under that covering, or you're just like, you rebel against God. He don't leave you, you leave him, basically. So yeah, he literally operates from this realm of love that we do not know. And like, he tries to get us to stay consistent in that realm of love by abiding in him, which is really the only way that you can stay there, is through selflessness and, death daily, to abide in Jesus and just be in that place with him. But he's always there. It's just like this eternal realm of just love that we're not used to. So it's really weird. But y'all pray about that. Ask him to give that to you so y'all can know what I'm talking about, because every time I feel it, I just fall in love with Jesus all over again. I really, really do. Like, I feel like a high school girl every time I feel it. I'm just like, he is just, I don't think there's anybody that can really just compare to Jesus. He's just so amazing. But anyway, my eyes getting watery. So let's get back to the text. Okay. So Esther responds, okay, if it seemed good to the king, let there be a banquet, blah, 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 blah. And he asked her again, what is your petition? And it shall be granted unto you. What is your request, even to the half of the kingdom? And this is a picture of Jesus, like I said. Just, you see how consistent he is, like his love. Now, this king is a wicked king, But God's love and Jesus' authority and his kingship was manifested through this king to show us the love that he has for his bride, which is us. So look how constant and consistent he is throughout this whole passage. Like, he never changed. Nothing. Isn't there a scripture like, y'all forgive me because I never read it before, but everything is yes and amen. That's literally what he's telling her. What is your request? What do you need? It's already a yes from me. How Jesus tells us, if you ask anything in my name, believing I have received, I will give it to you. He means just that. And look at this. As soon as she said the first thing she wanted, he immediately got to it. Immediately. Done. Then he asked her again, anything else? And as I was reading this, I could just feel Jesus' love through the text. I'm just like, oh my God, this is too much love. This is too much unconditional, passionate love for me. Like, for him to just be giving like that and just be loving on me like that. Like, what did I do to deserve this? Nothing. He just loves you. It's so crazy. Anyway, let's keep going. We don't have time to get all girly right now. We're trying to learn. Okay, you can be with Jesus later. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition, and to perform my request. Look at that, how she puts God's will before her own request after he just told her. Yes. This is the kind of relationship that should be goals for us. This is Christian relationship goals. The selflessness in the intimacy in something as simple as a request is insane. They're both selfless. Look how selfless he is to her. I'll give you anything. What do you need? And she's like, okay, baby, but if it's okay with you, if it pleases you, if it pleases the king, if you're pleased with me, I just love it. It's just so much love, like, all in here. It's just crazy, but man, it's beautiful. So yes, her humility is shown, and a Christian, a woman of God, how our humility should be towards God. We always put his will above our own request because he may not want to grant it. You always got to take that into consideration. So, yeah, it puts you in the perspective and reminds you of his authority in who you are to him. You are an heir with Christ. You are royalty. You are his bride, but he's still your authority. So you can't just come up in the court of heaven just running stuff and commanding like, this gonna be done. And it don't work like that. You don't tell God what you're gonna do. Christians pray like that. And they wonder why they don't get their prayers answered. Well, you need to read Esther and see the proper protocol for approaching God in prayer. And this is how you do it. Okay? With respect, with honor, and reverence. And you always put his will before your own. Even though he already told you that whatever you ask in his name, he will give it to you. It's just beautiful. Okay? It's really a relationship thing. It's just so amazing. All right, so Haman. I don't want to talk about Haman. I guess. I mean, let me see. Yeah, I'm almost done anyway. I may as well talk about Haman. Okay, we'll talk about Haman. Let me see. Check this out. Okay, so basically, Haman. All right. I already told y'all who Haman was. Haman is the Agagite, the Amalekite. He was one of them, and he was trying to kill the Jews, basically, okay? So Haman's whole thing, if you can read Esther by yourself, Esther is a very short book, but this man is literally ruled by the spirit of Satan himself. He gets angry because one man didn't bow down in reverence to him when he was promoted by the king to basically be his right-hand man. And he got puffed up in the head, had his ego just stroked all over the place. And I put in my notes how it really was the spirit of Satan. And you'll see this in a lot of, is it allegories? A lot of stories in the Bible when it comes to kings. God likes to place people in authority that are wicked. He didn't do it all the time, but they ended up turning out to be wicked in the end. But they're always evil. And you always see the spirit of Satan operating through these kings because Satan himself wants to be a king. So literally you'll see Haman, the way Haman just operates throughout this whole story, literally is Satan in the flesh. He used manipulation. He was walking in the spirit of witchcraft. He was conspiring against the Jews behind the scenes, behind the king's back, and buttering up the king. Got manipulated the king at the sign of that decree to kill and annihilate all the Jews while he was hiding his true lust, what he really planned to do from the king. He was really pissed off. It was personal to him. He was pissed off because Mordecai didn't bow down to him and didn't reverence him, but then gonna go butter up to the king and try to make it seem like, oh, it's about the king. There's a people here who don't listen to your commandments, so I think you should issue out this decree to kill them. And it ain't have nothing, and that's what I'm talking about. You got to watch out for these snakes. Haman is exactly who I be talking about. I wanted to say so bad reading this that Haman was operating through a spirit of Jezebel. I believe Jezebel can be in men, and Haman probably had that spirit along with murder, envy, and jealousy. He was just psychotic. It's crazy to want to kill a whole nation of people just because one person didn't reverence you and bow down to you and stroke your ego. Something is wrong with you. You have a complex problem. So he has the spirit of Satan literally operating through him. He's conspiring behind the scenes against these Jews. And it's sad that people in authority have people like this around them. Your right-hand man, your best friend, who you promoted, who's really, really close to you, is secretly envious of you. If they could, they would take your throne. They want what you have. They're not your friend. So this is who Haman was. He was that evil character. He was the right-hand man that was promoted. And I mean, the whole time he's just jealous and envious. He wants glory for himself. That's what he wants. So we actually might have to go read that. So yeah, that's what he wants. And so when Esther, one thing I love that I pointed out in chapter 6 and chapter 7 was you can see the picture of spiritual warfare between Haman operating in these demonic spirits of witchcraft. And when you are operating in the spirit of witchcraft, it's always going to blind you. That's one thing demons don't tell you. They may give you all the puffed upness. They'll give you all the pride. They'll give you all the spiritual sensitivity, but they will blind you. You will be a blind bat operating in an ungodly, defiled spirit, especially if it's a spirit of witchcraft. That spirit disillusions you. You're delusional if you're operating in that spirit. Literally. You're not in a healthy mindset, which he clearly was not because of how psychotic he was and the stuff that he was trying to pull behind the scenes. So yeah, basically, he wanted all the king's things for himself. That's basically what he wanted. So when Esther requested for this banquet to be done with Haman and the king, I didn't really get too much of why Esther kind of waited to really make it known to the king why she wanted Haman there and really wanted to kind of expose him. But basically, once Haman had his little dinner with the king and the queen, he goes home, and we're actually going to have to read this. Yeah, he comes home, and it says, Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai again. So once again, Mordecai is not bowing down to him. He gets angry again. And nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. So he's going home bragging. And you see the first thing he does when he goes home is he's boasting about his children, what he has. You're not the king. And this is exactly why I said the spirit, you can see the spirit of Satan operating fully through this man, because Satan himself is delusional. Satan wants everything that God has. He wants God's throne. He wants to be a king like God. He even wants worship and reverence like God. That's why he got angry when he saw a child of God not bowing down to him. He wants to kill them. So Satan himself wants glory. And he says, yes, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared for but myself, and tomorrow I am invited unto her also with the king again. So he's bragging. It's a lot of pride. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. Perfect picture of the devil. No matter how much Satan has accomplished thus far in this spirit realm and in the earth realm, he's a king to some degree in the spirit. He does have his own kingdom. He does have servants. He has Satanists and all that. They worship him. But yet he's still discontent. He's still not satiated. He's still not satisfied with everything that he's been given from God. From him conspiring behind the scenes and going back and forth to the throne of God, accusing the saints and, trying to gain a leeway and a foothold into sinners' lives so he can come up and put them in bondage and be a king over them. He's still not satisfied. He's never going to be satisfied because he's always going to be envious and jealous that God is the true authority and that God is the true King of Kings. And no matter what he gives Satan or what kind of kingdom or how many followers Satan has, or he can have the whole world, he's still not going to have the whole universe. He's still not going to have what God has. So he's still discontent. You can see that in his child right here, Haman. He just can't, he's been promoted. He is the king's right-hand man. He just had a banquet with his wife. And yet he still goes home and complains about how he's not going to be happy until that stupid Jew is destroyed. Something is wrong with you. So his wife, Lord have mercy, then says Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. So you have his wicked wife as well. She's evil. She sounds just like Jezebel. Everybody got a spirit of Jezebel. That's why I said, honey, if Haman didn't have Jezebel, he had something that spirit likes to link up with, because his wife definitely had Jezebel. She said exactly what Jezebel said to Ahab. Well, just go kill Naboth. Go kill him and then take his vineyard. And then go ahead and go on about your business, and you can go ahead and go to the banquet. Don't really worry about him. So she basically advised her husband, because he came home and threw a hissy fit, just like Ahab did to Jezebel. Oh, Naboth won't give me his vineyard. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to throw a temper tantrum. And Jezebel's like, all right, just kill him, honey, and then we'll just take the vineyard. So just like him, Haman comes home. Oh my God, my life is just so perfect. My life is so great. I just had a banquet with the king and his queen, and she didn't invite anybody else to the banquet but me. But I'm still not happy because Mordecai won't reverence me. Everybody bow down to me except Mordecai. I just don't know what to do, honey. And she's like, okay, just kill him. So this is his wife. She gives him this foolish counsel, which I think is a perfect example. You're going to see how this turns out, the turn of events, how they kind of change. This is exactly why you should not listen to unbelievers, okay? We just talked about this in Psalms chapter 1. Do not listen to fools. Okay, we're gonna see why. So this is chapter 6. So on that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of the two chamberlains, I think, two men who were working for the king that were conspiring to kill him. Mordecai heard about it and warned the king and pretty much spared his life. So this was actually written in the books, but they never really granted him or really rewarded him for doing that. And the king said, what honor and dignity has been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him. In other words, he's never been rewarded for that, for saving your life. And the king said, well, who's in the court right now? Now Haman, sovereignly appointed, was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. So I think you can see God as sovereign. This is the encouragement for y'all who pray and fast with any given situation. It shows God isn't mentioned really anywhere in this whole story, but you can still see his hand through everything. So on behalf of all those fastings and all those prayers that those Jews did for those 3 days, you get to see how God acts in the natural and how that manifests. He's dealing with the king's heart and troubling him that night. He couldn't sleep. For some reason, Mordecai is on his mind. It's bothering him. And God is really speaking to the king's heart. He's not even a man of God. So that's for y'all, who think that God can't speak to people not saved. Yes, he can. So he's not even a man of God. And yet God is dealing with his heart. Go get that book. Go get that book. Remember Mordecai, that guy Mordecai. So he's like, okay, hey, give me that book. And they're reading through the Chronicles. That guy, he did save my life. Have you rewarded him for that yet? The guy's like, no. He's like, So this is sovereign. This is God's sovereignty right here. And he's like, all right, well, who's in the court? So as soon as he said that, Haman was already on his way because his dumb wife just told him, well, go ask the king if you can kill Mordecai, blah, blah, blah. So he's on his way to ask the king that. And God, this shows how when you pray for something, be very patient for God to bring that prayer to pass. Because God has a perfect and precise strategy and timing with how he wants to go about manifesting that. That's not a coincidence that at the same time that God was dealing with the king's heart about Mordecai to bless and reward him, he sent Haman into the king's court at the same time. So he's about to get all this just blown up in his face, basically. So Haman's in the court. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to honor more than to myself? So basically, you can tell the king is completely oblivious to anything that God plans, and this shows God's sovereignty over people. Everybody don't have to know God for God to use them. Throughout this whole storyline, the king has been completely oblivious to God's sovereign hand behind his first queen being removed, how Esther is his daughter and she's being used for something big. The king is just kind of there as like a chess piece, literally. So when he asks Haman that, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delights to honor? He really was just really asking him as his right-hand man for advice. So what would you say should be done for somebody, who I want to reward? What would you say? So that's basically what he was asking him. He didn't really give it a second thought. He was just asking Haman a question. Now, because Haman is blinded by the spirit of witchcraft and pride, he's darkened. He's blinded and he is darkened and he's delusional. So in his mind, because he's full of himself and this spirit is blinding his mind, he thinks, oh, the king's talking about me. The king loves me. So you see how God, oh my God, this is so sovereign. I should have wrote this down too. So you see how God can use the spirit of witchcraft to turn on somebody who was once walking in that spirit, or probably is still walking in that spirit. God allowed Haman to believe self-deludedly that he was being glorified or promoted and elevated because he was having all these banquets with the king and the queen. And well, since the king is asking a question like that, oh my God, it's about to get even better, right? Now he's really about to do something big for me. So that just goes to show us, what I learned from this is you have to be very careful how you walk before the Lord and what's in your heart. God can see all of that stuff that's in your heart. And if somebody is walking in pride, or they're walking in haughtiness, or just bitterness or conspiracy or witchcraft against somebody else, God will allow you to walk in that darkness so blinded you will fall into your own pit. That's really scary, the fact that God allowed this man to be so deluded and to really perceive and believe this lie the whole time. Completely blinded to the fact that his death was actually upon him. It was right around the corner. The whole point in that banquet wasn't so you could be glorified, honey. It wasn't so you could be elevated. It wasn't because you were special. That's your death right around the corner. And God, because he was operating in that spirit of witchcraft, allowed him to be blinded by that spirit. He was walking in that darkness. That's a scary place to be in when you're dealing with God. That's why you really have to be careful how you walk with the Lord, because he will set your own idol before you and you will trip over it and die. Literally. If that's your idol, God will use it to kill you. And you won't even see it because you're blinded by it. All you see is that idol in your heart in front of you. You don't see nothing else. And that's what God is going to use as a tool to kill you and bring you to your downfall. So you can see how delusional and blinded this man is by his pride. It's crazy. The king just asked him a simple question for advice, and he thinks he's talking about him. That's how full of himself he is. So listen to what he says. And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delights to honor, let the royal apparel be brought which the king uses to wear, and the horse that the king rides upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. So basically, he's talking about himself, but he don't want to blow his cover because in reality he's shisty. He likes to conspire behind the scenes, and he wants the king's position. You really think he gonna let the king know that he wants all that stuff to be done for him? No, he's under the impression that the king is already talking about him. So he sees this as an opportunity to take advantage of him basically walking as the king himself. Basically, I want everything that you got. I want the crown that you wear. I want your apparel. I want this man should walk around as the king himself. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the men with all whom the king delights to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and basically parade him around, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honor. So he's doing the most. Like, it ain't even that deep, but that's what he said. So the king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel and the horse as you have said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew that sits at the king's gate. Let nothing fall of all that you have spoken. So, like I said, he's blinded. God has this man darkened by his pride, his idols, and these spirits that he's operating in. So he's just completely delusional. And the king, like I said before, just asking a simple question, he's like, you know what, that sounds good. All right, that guy Mordecai, I want you to go do everything that you've said to him right now to reward him. But Haman didn't know that. So, can you imagine the look on this man's face when he heard that? He hasn't revealed to the king how much he really hates the Jews. The whole point in getting the king to issue out the decree to kill them was because he personally hated them and he wants to be glorified. So he couldn't really blow his cover by letting it be shown or letting it be known that he didn't want to do that for Mordecai. And he wasn't going to tell the king, hey, I came up in here to ask you if I could kill that guy. You know, like, he's not going to do that. My phone is dying. Hold on. No, he ain't going to do that. Because he's shiesty. And you got to think as well, like, well, why would the king care about Mordecai? If, you know, there's a possibility that the king probably didn't know that Mordecai was a Jew, which is why he issued out the decree and let Haman do what he wanted to do in the first place. Maybe he didn't know that Mordecai was a Jew, so he wasn't really thinking about it, you know? But it just goes to show, like, the king wasn't really thinking about him like that. So for Haman to be his right-hand man just further confirms that he had ill will in his heart towards the king. If the king didn't care about Mordecai, then what you got to hide your plans from him for? Unless you plan on killing him too and taking it. You see what I'm saying? So he ain't going to let it be known. So then took Haman the apparel and the horse and arrayed Mordecai and brought him on horseback through the street of the city and proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delights to honor. Now, you know what's so ironic about this? This fool here went to the king and accused Mordecai of disobeying the king's commandment simply because of Mordecai's personal beliefs. He didn't like Haman because he was an Agagite or a Amalekite or whatever. Maybe, you know, they didn't reverence them. They were never on good terms with those people, you know. So now Haman himself, you see, his witchcraft is already starting to kind of backfire on him. Everything's kind of manifesting and he's reaping the cup. He's reaping everything that he's sown. It started off with him being appointed to go into the king's house at the same time that God was dealing with the king's heart about Mordecai. And it blew up in his face because he thought that he was talking about him. He wasn't talking about him. So now God put him in a position. He's dealing with Haman personally. Nobody knows Haman's plots except Haman and God. So God purposely put this ignorant fool in a position to where, okay, so you want to be glorified, huh? God can see that in his heart. So you want to be glorified. You want to be paraded around the city like the king yourself, and you want to kill one of my servants, and you want to accuse him for disobeying the commandment. How about this? You're going to parade him around. He is going to be exalted. He is going to be praised publicly, and you're going to be shamed. Because you was around the whole town telling everybody that you was the king's right-hand man and he just loved you, but you ain't the one on that horse, are you? No, you're not. Okay, so you the one who about to be shamed. And on top of that, how does it feel, Haman, to be in a situation to do something that you don't want to do, but you got to obey the king's commandment? Ain't that what you accused Mordecai of not doing so you could kill him? So he didn't have a choice. God made it to where he didn't have a choice but to obey the king's. Can you imagine how much that ate him up? He hated this guy. This is the guy he was about to request to kill and hang him. And you telling me I got to parade him around and give him what I want for myself? That wasn't humility on Haman's part. That was obligation because he didn't want to expose himself yet. So you can see here the hand of God right here, how you really do reap what you sow. God can see people's hearts. God ain't got to let nobody else in on what you doing and what you be thinking about in your heart and what you plotting and pursuing in your heart. He can see it. And he can deal with people in a way to where they reap and they suffer exactly what they put it on the people. And the idol that they set before them, he will use that as their downfall. He could deal with you personally in a way that only you and your conscience can know that. Nobody else has to know. That's why you really have to be careful how you walk before God. It's scary. Look at what he did. Literally, it's like God literally looked into this man's heart and saw every idolatrous, wicked thing and flipped it. Everything. Crushed him. He wanted to shame Mordecai. Now he's being shamed. He wanted to be gloried. Now his enemy is being glorified by him. You want to accuse somebody for not obeying the king's commandment? Okay, well, how does it feel for you to be doing this to somebody that you hate and you don't even want to obey the king's commandment, but you got to do it anyway? So, and Mordecai came again to the king's gate after all that passed. But Haman hasted to his house. He's running, crying like a little baby, mourning and having his head covered. That's shame. He has his head covered. Oh, so you don't like shame. But you had intentions on shaming Mordecai publicly by building a gallows 50 cubits high for the whole nation to see him so he could be hanged butt naked. But you're ashamed because you have to parade him around and you look stupid. Yes, exactly. So you see what I'm talking about? People like this, they're cowards. What man, you have it's crazy how people like this can have such a big ego, right? They have this huge ego, well, I'm the man, I'm this, and that. But let the littlest thing happen to upset them, they just blow up. They're irrational. They go home crying to their wife, oh, baby, you don't believe what just happened. What just befall me? They're cowards. They're weak. This God is literally showing you how Satan really is, what he really looks like. He's a coward. Satan is puffed up and gassed with pride, ego, and self-gratification, and he still goes home at the end of the day and has a hissy fit to all his demon friends. And I'm sure they get sick of it, but they can't do anything about it because they left God. Now they have to serve Satan. But that's what Satan does. He cries, complains. Oh, I done got all these Christians a backslide and I'm still not keen. So whining, complaining, shame. He hates shame. People with a lot of pride hate shame. They need to die to self. So, look at this. Look how dramatic he's being. And Haman told Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends everything that had befallen him. What is everything?